Ladies and gentlemen, Madden 25 early access is upon us, and you know that means it is time to discuss franchise mode. And of course, in turn, discussing franchise mode and what team you should run your franchise with and why. Stick around through the end of the video for some great outside-the-box franchise team choices, but first, let's get into the top 10. Number 10, call me crazy, is the LA Chargers. Yes, they do have this man, Justin Herbert. However, he is the lone building block on this offense right now, as Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins, even Isaiah Spiller may just be stopgaps towards the future. Joshua Palmer is something to build around, but he's not signed after year one. You are looking to build around Ladd McConkey and Quentin Johnston as your pass catchers, because they don't even really have a tight end worthy of keeping around long term. Now, their offensive line does have some pieces. Rashawn Slater, Zion Johnson could of course get better. They're gonna need a center, and right guard doesn't look all that great either, but they did draft Joe Alt, and that should definitely help their offensive line as well. On defense, they are looking weaker than we are used to seeing the Chargers. I mean, Joey Bosa is still there, but he's no longer in the 90s. And this just isn't a Chargers defense we're used to. Khalil Mack looking like he's going to fall out of the 90s in the near future as well. Asante Samuel Jr., their lone piece at corner. And of course, they still do have Derwin James. Their special teams is solid with Dicker the kicker and J.K. Scott. But again, going to need some pieces. And the Chargers come into this game ranked 79 overall, 5-12 they went in real life last year. They are ranked as the number 2 blocking team in this Madden game, and they will go into their year one off season with $89 million, but with 21 players needing contracts. They have 8 players at 80 overall or better, and this is a team where you need to build around Justin Herbert so that he doesn't become ringless like Phillip Rivers. Number 9, in my opinion, this has been a very popular rebuild over the last few years. It's the New Orleans Saints. And the main reason for me to choose this team as our number 9 team is they're going to go into the year one off season with a negative $4 million in cap space, needing to re-sign 19 players. Now, they do have 10 players at 80 overall or better, including a couple of high-profile 90s that are, of course, over the age of 30, but they don't have a quarterback right now. Derek Carr is the bridge to, I don't know if Spencer Rattler is the answer. At running back, Alvin Kamara is aging, and you either need to bring along Kendra Miller or draft your own running back. Chris Olave is a solid receiver, but who else do they really have outside of him? And at tight end, Jawan Johnson is a really cool player, but outside of that, they have nobody at the position. Fuaga is going to have to come along nicely in your system as a rookie because left guard does not look great. Eric McCoy, of course, signed long-term, and for good reason, with Cesar Ruiz not really panning out right now, and Ryan Ramczyk getting in that over 30 age range. Cam Jordan is running out of time to win him a championship. Chase Young is really just a one-year player right now on this squad because it's going to be really hard to bring him back with no cap space. Brian Breezy is a nice player that needs to come along a little bit more. At linebacker, Demario Davis, of course, leads the group, but how are you going to re-sign all of these players? Paulson Adebo also up for contract, with Lattimore making $31 million next year. Insane. Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badgers, price goes up, albeit he's a good player. What are you going to do at strong safety? Kicker isn't great. Punter is bad. The Saints are a bit of a mess right now, left in shambles to deal with this nasty cap space. can you deal with that? They come into this year's Madden ranked 81 overall, 9-8 last season in real life, and their best thing is team speed. They are ranked 3rd in the league in team speed, 2 X Factors on the team, a superstar, and 17 star devs. So something to build around if you're able to keep it money-wise. Number 8 for me, I don't think they're a very good team in this game. It is the Tennessee Titans. Now, the Titans will come into this Madden ranked 80 overall. They were 6-11 last year, and they don't have anything ranked better than 13th, and that's their running game. That is also a little bit of a hit from last year where they had Derrick Henry. Now they have Tony Pollard. Will Levis is their presumed quarterback of the future, but there's questions whether he can make it for you in this game. Tony Pollard signed for 3 years with Tajay Spears, so that is going to be your duo for the next 3 seasons. You are set at running back. Receiver, some trouble here. Calvin Ridley given big money. He's going to make $28 million next year, strapping that cap just a little bit. But no D-Hop, no Tyler Boyd, some rentals there for this season. Chig Okonkwo, you're going to have to improve him over time. Now, J.C. Latham could be really great for them at left tackle. Peter Skoronski, they did spend a lot on drafting Lyman. Lloyd Cushenberry's a nice little signing for them. Brunskill not going to be great, and NPF not going to be all that great in game. So we'll see how it goes. Definitely want to shore up that right side of the line in the draft. Jeffrey Simmons, of course, tremendous, and he was given that extension. It's going to be a huge one. Tavondre Sweat, nice draft pick. You have to see if you can make him work out. Arden Key, just a stopgap middle linebacker, doesn't look insane. And Harold Landry, good player. James Williams will definitely help out as well. L'Jarius Sneed is their big offseason acquisition, getting him over from the Chiefs and giving him that extension. He's going to make $20 million next year. Pairing him with Chidobe Awuzie should be fun. Roger McCreary should make a nice number 3. Not bad at corner, but the safeties, Elijah Molden and Amani Hooker is okay, but could be better. Nick Folk, that's one of their 80-plus players, and they have 10 of them, and Nick Folk barely counts, in my opinion. At punter, Ryan Stonehouse is another one. So if you have 10 80-plus players, and 2 of them are your kicker and your punter, that makes for not a great start in Madden. So we'll see if the Tennessee Titans, you can do anything with them. You will have $79.3 million going into the offseason with 19 players to resign, but they don't have a single X Factor on roster. That's where you got to get going. Number 7, I'm going to give you the Commanders here. I think they could be really fun. They do have 2 areas where they're ranked 9th, and that is blocking and team speed. And I think a big portion of that is because Jaden Daniels is going to be fast and really good. He should be a really wonderful rookie for you right away in season number 1, even though technically the Commanders ranked 28th in the pass in this game. 9 players rated 80 or more. Let's take a look. Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson are 2 of them right away. So right away, 280 pluses wasted at running back. I don't want to say wasted, but you know what I mean. Terry McLaurin, of course, is great. Paired with Jahan Dotson, as he has been. But outside of that, it's going to be rough. Nobody really signed except for Luke McCaffrey, so he's the guy you're bringing along in that group. Zach Ertz coming in for a season just to stick it to the Eagles, I guess. Ben Sinnott is the guy you want to grow here. Brandon Coleman. Now, they're blocking ranked 9th. Let's see where we see it. I don't see it here. I don't totally see a bad thing with Biadish, but it's not great. Cosme's okay, but he's only signed for this 1 season. And Andrew Wiley. So I don't see where you're ranked 9th in blocking. I guess it's not horrible, but that is where the Commanders have not been great over the last few years. Dante Fowler is your starting left end. There's just nothing long-term here that I'd want to keep. Jonathan Allen has 2 years left. You'll probably want to get rid of him at 31 years old. Deron Payne will probably be done at 30, but you do have Jerzon Newton out of Illinois to bring along here. Frankie Louvu for 3 seasons. Bobby Wagner for 1 more year as an old man. Yamin Davis, I like to call him Jamin Davis, but there you go, 1 year for him. Their corners leave a lot to be desired. Emmanuel Forbes got to come along nicely, and they just got Mike Sandersteele. Derek Forrest at free safety, but unsigned after this year. Same with Jeremy Chin. They do have Jartavius Martin to bring along behind him. Their kicker is bad, and their punter is fair, I guess, last year for Tress Way as well. So, Commanders going to come into the game as an 80 overall, $95.6 million in the first off-season with 21 players to resign. They have 1 X-Factor and 2 superstars on the team, and as I said, 9 80-plus players. Can you take the Commies back to where they used to be in the 80s and the prominent tops of the league? My number 6 rebuild goes to the Vegas Raiders. Now, for one, I want to apologize to Raiders fans for not finishing that Raiders franchise last year. We will do it again eventually, don't you worry. But they have a very interesting quarterback situation here. Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell both probably not the answer, and I don't know that Carter Bradley is either, so that should be fun. You'll be able to draft your own quarterback. Should be able to draft your own running back, too. Zamir White's cool and all, but only 2 years left for him. Alexander Madison and Abdullah are done at the end of the year, so, again, can draft your own skill position player there. Wide receivers, Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers will be together for a few years, so will Trey Tucker. Gallup will be, you should technically cut him because he has retired. I will be doing that in my own franchise. Michael Gallup now retired. Now, Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer should be a really fun duo of tight ends to run a couple of tight end sets, maybe make your own playbook, maybe get something going with that. Colton Miller, great left tackle. JPJ, very, very nice draft selection at left guard. Andre James, not bad at center. They have tried to build this line. Right guard, Cody Whitehair, really just a stopgap. And then Thayer Munford, they're trying to bring along at that right tackle spot, but they also have DJ Glaze in case that doesn't work. Of course, we all know the great Max Crosby. Tyree Wilson, of course, trying to be brought along too, but it hasn't worked out thus far, but we'll see if they can change that. I do think that they got screwed a little bit. Malcolm Kuntz, I think, is way better than a 72, but the game doesn't think so, and his contract is running out. Christian Wilkins, just brought him in on the big money deal. Look what he's going to make in year number 2 of your franchise, $33 million. That is going to strap the cap a little bit, and nobody really signed outside of Byron Young to go along with him. Left outside linebacker is in shambles. Middle linebacker is not good. Right outside linebacker without Spillane, you just got Tommy Eichenberg. That could be trouble. Corner, they did Jack Jones dirty. He's better than a 74, but Jacorian Bennett and Nate Hobbs, Nate Hobbs could be done at the end of the year if you don't give him a new contract. Marcus Epps, done at the end of the year, and Trayvon Moehrig, done at the end of the year. Daniel Carlson, good kicker. AJ Cole, great punter. Special teams has always been a priority for the Raiders for some reason. And it's not a bad thing that it has been. They have 2 X Factors, but they have 0 superstars, and they have $74.6 million to spend on 20 players that will need a new contract in the offseason. Raiders have been a mess for a long time. Can you take them back to being a perennial playoff contender the way that they were when Jerry Rice played for them? All right, hear me out. Number 5, the Seattle Seahawks. There is a very specific reason I have chosen the Seahawks for this spot. You see that top right cap space at $1.33 million? Yeah, it does not get much better. In the offseason, they will have $11.2 million to spend on 17 players, and as you see, their rookie reserve is $11.7. They need to keep that for their draft picks. So Seattle is going to have a rough roster to navigate, and let's take a peek why. Well, Geno Smith has been given that extension, and he is making bank. He's going to make $12 million more next year than what he's making this year, and I don't know that he's completely worth that, obviously. At running back, Kenneth Walker, 2 years left. You're set at running back for now. Wide receiver, this is where all this money is about to go. Tyler Lockett is about to jump $12 million himself. DK Metcalf will jump $5 million. You will be spending an extra $17 million on the last year of these two players' contracts. And then you really got to bring JSN along, because I don't know that you'll be able to afford bringing both of those guys back. Noah Fant is going to jump up $6 million in a season. And there's Cross, Charles Cross, very nice. They got to bring him along. Same with Anthony Bradford. Center is a rough spot on this team. Right guard's going to be rough if you don't bring Christian Haynes along. And right tackle Abraham Lucas. They have done a decent job bringing in some young talent for the offensive line. They're trying to do the same thing on defense. Byron Murphy to go along with Draymond Jones. Leonard Williams was brought in, and look at the money he's going to make next year. $29.2 million. Kind of nuts. Few guys not going to get contracts here probably in the offseason. D-tackle is going to be a mess. Boye Mafe has 2 years left on his contract. Derek Hall has 3. Jerome Baker brought in here. Just 1 year left for him. 1 year here for Dotson. That is it. Nwosu, Uchenna Nwosu's got 3 years on his deal, and look what he's making in 2025. $21.5 million is an insane amount for him. Tariq Woolen, 2 years left, and Devin Witherspoon, 3 years left. So you got a good corner duo for a couple of seasons before you're going to need to get somebody behind them. Julian Love, this is it, 1 year. And Rayshawn Jenkins has a couple. He is 30 years old, so you're probably not going to want to keep him after that, but he's jumping another $3.5 million next year too. Jason Myers, solid kicker, but you're paying him. And Michael Dixon, solid punter, but you're pretty much paying him too. So, how did the numbers change? Well, the Seahawks, with that $11.2 million, having to sign 17 players that are, quite honestly, pretty solid players. You can see some of the overalls of these guys that need new contracts. It's going to be a tough thing to navigate, but can you do it? Can you get the Seahawks post Pete Carroll to get back into the Super Bowl? Maybe not blow it at the goal line this time. All right, number 4 on the list. It's really difficult because there are so many that are perennially on this list. The Broncos have been on the list for a few years now. The Cardinals have been on the list for a few years now. The Bears. But I decided that the one team that has been on this list that I'm going to keep putting on here is the Panthers. The Panthers are just not very good. The Panthers are decent at pass rush, but everything else is outside the top 15. They're only going to have $42.9 million to sign 15 people in the offseason. They don't have a single X factor on the team. They only have 1 superstar, and they only have 10 star devs with only 9 players at 80 overall or better. And as you can see, a lot of that reason is them cap penalties. $46 million in cap penalties. They do have Bryce Young, who is presumably the franchise guy. You'll have to find that out in the next 3 seasons. At running back, Jonathan Brooks is going to be that guy, even though Miles Sanders was given the big money. So that'll be an interesting thing to navigate. You will lose Chuba Hubbard, and probably good riddance with the $3 million. $10 million for Deontay Johnson. Don't know if you're going to want to bring him back or not. Adam Thielen has a couple of years left at 34 years old. I mean, obviously you're going to want to bring Xavier Legette and Jonathan Mingo along to be the new duo, but is that even possible? Going to have to find out. Jatavian Sanders is that tight end of the future. Can you get that to come along? There's a lot of growing and developing that's going to be needed to be done in this franchise. Ekwonu at left tackle, solid. Damian Lewis at left guard, fine. Austin Corbett at center, expiring. Robert Hunt, big money from the Miami Dolphins at right guard. And as much as I liked him as a Dolphin fan, for this money, y'all can have him, Carolina. Y'all can have him. $21 million next year is crazy for him. Taylor Moton, look how much this boy is making for 2 years. $29.8 million. Crazy. A'Shawn Robinson got a 3-year deal, and he's making a pretty penny, too, for a 74 overall. Derek Brown, 5-year extension. He's going to be making big money. This cap room is not going to get much better for Carolina. They're going to lose some talent that they've had. Jadeveon Clowney for 2 years. That's actually not a bad price for Jadeveon Clowney when you consider some other prices that they have been giving out here. Middle linebacker, not terrible. Wanham, not the greatest right outside linebacker. He's going to make $8 million next year. J.C. Horn is going to be fine to ride out his contract. You got to save that money to re-sign him, though, because that's not a guy you want to let go. Chow Smith-Wade should be interesting to see if he sticks around. Xavier Woods, 1 year. Jordan Fuller, 1 year. So safety duo, going to need some help. Kicker, they tried to draft Harrison Mavis here. Maybe draft, maybe sign, I don't know. But he looks like he might be a practice squatter. Eddie Pinheiro has a year left, and Johnny Hecker has 1 year for him. So Panthers just looking rather meh all the way around the roster, and it's either going to be a lot of development or a lot of bye-bye. The Panthers have been unlucky in their playoff/Super Bowl history. Can you finally get them over the hump and get them their first championship? Number 3, as much as I hate to do this because I cannot stand the New England Patriots, they are my number 3 team to rebuild in this game. And, you know, we are years at this point removed from Tom Brady, and now we are about to be removed of Bill Belichick in the league as well. The Patriots are ushering in a new era. And the new era doesn't look great. An 80 overall team who went 4-13 last year doesn't rank better than 16th at anything, and that's just blocking because, well, let's face it, that's what Bill believed in, good offensive lines. Now, this is the rebuild to choose if you want a ton of money in the offseason, because they have $126 million to spend in the offseason with only 15 people to sign. But they've got no X Factors, 1 superstar, and 21 star devs. They have 11 players 80 and above, and they are ushering in the Drake May era. Jacoby Brissett, IRL, is presumably going to be the starter for the beginning of the year, but you don't need to do that. Drake May would be the guy you want to earn the XP anyway. Ramondre Stevenson looks like he might only have 1 year in a Patriot uniform. Antonio Gibson got a 3-year contract here. Probably a little overspending on him, but that's fine. Kendrick Bourne, probably a little overspending on him, but that's fine. Juju Smith-Schuster's got 2 years left on the deal that he signed. And Demario Douglas, probably going to be the coolest receiver to use in this franchise. Jalen Polk should be fun too. And Javon Baker could be fun too. They threw a lot of, let's just say, dookie at the wall, hoping some would stick at the receiver position. Hunter Henry, 3-year extension for him to stick around. Austin Hooper comes in as the backup. And Jaheim Bell, can you bring him along? Now, they are ranked 16th in blocking, which isn't great, but this is where they're supposed to be the best. Okorafor is not great. Cole Strange was a strange draft pick at the time. Looks even stranger now. David Andrews, time is running out for him. City So, 3 years on him. And Mike Onwenu, their best lineman. Hands down, their best lineman. And he'll make $21 million next year. Christian Barmore, they brought in, 5-year deal for him. Dietrich Wise, 1 year left, and then Keon White, 3 years. Godshaw, only 1 year left for him. They have nothing at D-tackle. It is abysmal there. Judon, only 1 year. Uche, only 1 year. There's a lot of decisions to be made on this team, and this is why they have a lot of cap space going into next offseason. Juwan Bentley will be around for a couple of years. Tavai, only 1 year for him. Taki has 2. Jonathan Jones, only 1 left. Christian Gonzalez, of course, going to be there. Big draft pick from last season. Jabril Peppers has a year for him. And Kyle Duggar, of course, got his extension, $15.5 million next offseason. So That should be interesting. Joey Sly, the kicker for a year, and Bryce Behringer, the punter for 3 years. Not looking good. They are looking like they need some help. Are you the GM that can give it to them? My number 2 rebuild in Madden 25 is the Minnesota Vikings. This could be a really fun team to use. Now, they don't have anything ranked really high, but they are top 10 apparently in pass rush. But I know that they had a problem with that in real life last year. So let's take a look at this team. J.J. McCarthy, of course, the new QB of the future there. Should be interesting to see if he pans out for you or not with Darnold as his backup. Aaron Jones brought in for just 1 season, so running back is an area that could use a little revitalization after year 1. They actually have a fullback, which most teams don't. Justin Jefferson, of course, given his moolah. There it is, 5 years, he's going to be making some money later on. Jordan Addison is the other receiver, and they've got nothing after that. Tight end TJ Hawkinson, 4 years left on the big 5-year deal that they gave him. You can see that the Vikings don't have a ton of cap space, but Darisaw at left tackle is really good. He's got a couple of years left. Reisner's okay, but he's done after this year. Bradbury, couple of years left. He's just merely serviceable. Ed Ingram, serviceable at best. And Brian O'Neill's really good. So great tackles on the Vikings, not so much the interior. They said that they ranked high in pass rush. I don't see it with Jonathan Bullard. I don't see it with Jerry Tillery. I don't really see it at D-tackle. Harrison Phillips got 1 year left, and then they're grasping at straws. But Dallas Turner is going to be interesting for them. He should be fun. Blake Cashman and Ivan Pace in the middle, and Andrew Van Ginkel. This is the big money deal. He's only making 3.4 this year, but 12.4 next year. This is the big money coming from the Miami Dolphins. Again, they paid something I don't think the Dolphins were willing to pay, and that's totally fine. They also brought in Jonathan Greenard, 4 years here for him. Should be interesting to see how their rotation fits pass rush-wise. Byron Murphy at corner, 1 year left on him. Mekhi Blackman there for 3 years, and their corners is in dire straits, to say the least. Free safety, Bynum has 1 year left. And Harrison Smith, man, just sticking around, keeps extending. 35 years old, taking a 5-year deal is wild to me, but Harrison Smith's been a gamer for years now. Will Reichard is their rookie kicker, and Ryan Wright, 1 year at punter. So the Vikings are interesting, $20.7 million this year, but in that first offseason, they will have $48.8 million to re-sign 14 expiring contracts. They do have, of course, one X Factor. His name is Jay Jettas. They have 3 superstars, 9 star devs, 10 players at 80+, finished 7-10 last year. Can you get the Vikings over the hump in the new era of J.J. McCarthy and take McCarthy to new heights with Kevin O'Connell as his coach? Now for what I think might be the roughest and toughest rebuild in Madden 25. It is my number 1 rebuild, and it is taking the 6-11, 77 overall Giants. It is the worst overall in the game. They do have the 5th ranked blocking somehow. We know the Giants have had trouble on the offensive line, but 30th in passing, 30th in coverage, and 31st in pass rush. They will also only have $59.7 million of cap space in the offseason to re-sign 24 people. They have 1 X Factor, 1 Superstar, 12 star devs, and only 5, as you can see here, players that are 80 overall or better. Daniel Jones, still 3 years on his contract. This is a gross contract, taking all of your money. I don't know where not giving Saquon what he wanted and instead giving Singletary this is what the Giants should have done, but it's a move, I guess. Darius Slayton, his last year potentially in a Giant uniform. Malik Neighbors, of course, is the guy. the exciting guy to use. I'm also really still excited about Jalen Hyatt. Still really would be excited to use him. Theo Johnson, so exciting. Such an exciting player to use. And Daniel Bellinger, I think he's better than a 70. I think he got a little robbed in the game, but thus that's where we're at. Now remember, the Giants were a good blocking team. Andrew Thomas is nice. The Luminor, he's okay. This is not great. John Runyon's okay. And Evan Neal's not great. So they have one dude, as far as I'm concerned. On defense, Jordan Phillips, not going to work out. He only has 1 year left. Nunez Roach, this is not great. They do have Sexy Dexy Lawrence, 4 more seasons for him. Kayvon Thibodeau is coming along nicely. He needs a little bit more time. Bobby Okereke, 3 years left at an 86 overall. He is solid. Isaiah Simmons has 1 more year left, potentially in a Giant uniform. Micah McFadden's okay. Brian Burns, bringing him in was their big offseason thing to do. And of course, he's going to be great. Deontay Banks hasn't completely worked out, but he hasn't completely failed yet. Cordell Flott is like merely serviceable. They are trying to work with Andrew Phillips, but man, they got so much failed corner here. So much of it. Tyler Nubin is their brand new free safety. And at strong safety, they still got Jason Pinnock for 1 more season. Graham Gano is their kicker for 3 more years, and he is being paid handsomely. And at punter, it is the Scottish Hammer, Jamie Gillen, for 1 more year in a Giant uniform. It is just not a great team. There is some things to build around here, but man, you can totally see why they are just a 77 overall in this game. And with only $59.7 million in year number 2, it's going to be tough to really build a contender. Can you navigate this terrible team with not a great cap space situation to potentially being an underdog champion once again? All right, I told you to stick around to the end of the video for some outside the box rebuilds, and I'm gonna throw 5 your way. We're gonna go through them really quickly though, and we are gonna start with the LA Rams. And the reason they're 5 on these outside the box rebuilds is because they've already won a Super Bowl not that long ago, so I don't feel that bad for them, and they will have $95.9 million to spend in the offseason, only needing to re-sign 13 players. But Matthew Stafford is 36 years old. Where is your QB of the future? You're going to have to think about that. Kyron Williams has 2 years before he's going to want big running back contract money, and Blake Corum's on the team, so should be a really interesting dynamic there. At wide receiver, of course, Cooper Kupp, he's already faced some injury concerns, and he's 31 years old. Puka Nacua has come along really strong as a solid route runner. We'll see what happens there. Tyler Higbee, 2 years left on him, and he's getting a little older. This is a very old team. Their line, of course, leaves a lot to be desired, with the exception of Kevin Dotson. He's pretty good, and Rob Havenstein, how much longer can he hold on for being as good as he's been? Braden Fish should be fun to bring along. Kobe Turner should be cool as well. They do have started to make some draft picks, this team has. Jared Verse is their biggest draft pick this year. Ernest Jones, 24 years old, but needs a new contract, so there goes some of that money. Byron Young, not bad. There's a lot of decently young players on the defense, but except for this corner position where Trey White and Darius Williams will pair up together. John Johnson, getting older, never really got great at football. He's good, though. Cameron Kitchens, can he get great at football? Cameron Curl and Cameron Kitchens could be the Camerons to be the cooks in the kitchen. That's a little too much. Anyways, kicker, Joshua Carty, again, another rookie here at kicker, and then Ethan Evans, who was a rookie last year. So some youth being injected into this Rams team. Can you develop it and then continue to inject some youth where it need be? Number 4, outside the box rebuild, call me crazy, Cincinnati Bengals. Now, the Bengals are interesting because they will only have $34.1 million in the offseason with 20 players to re-sign. And they only have 10 80-plus overall players. They're not as great in this game as you would think that they would be. But they do have Joe Burrow, who is one of the best quarterbacks in the game. And he is signed, of course, forever. So that should help. Running back situation could get a little shoddy here. No Joe Mixon, of course. Wide receiver situation, of course, Chase is going to need his money in a couple of years, and Higgins probably cannot afford him at this point. So Jermaine Burton and Charlie Jones are the young injections that have been put here. Andre Iosivas as well. So might need to bring those along and get what you can for T. Higgins. Mike Gesicki is joining the team at tight end for the season. Orlando Brown, solid left tackle. Left guard Cordell Volson's okay. Ted Karras at center is okay. Alex Kappa at right guard is okay. Trent Brown, of course, stopgap, but they did draft our Amarius Mims, who should be great for them. Sam Hubbard, couple of seasons left for him with Miles Murphy backing up. There's Trey Hendrickson, who has been incredible for them. And Cedric Johnson brought in from the draft to be that next guy. Here's some guys too. Chris Jenkins and McKinley Jackson drafted to take over that defensive tackle position. Linebackers is a little rough. Jermaine Pratt's been hanging on. Logan Wilson is solid and signed for a long time. Mike Hilton is done at the end of the year. Cam Taylor-Britt and DJ Turner will take over, and hopefully Josh Newton will take his spot moving on up. Geno Stone, a couple of years with Daxton Hill, so that's a solid safety situation. So is this one with Von Bell and Jordan Battle. McPherson's a solid kicker, and punter could use a little bit better punter, but that's okay. The Bengals are a solid enough team that just need that extra defense and offensive line, and they need some replacing of the current parts to keep the train moving. And I don't know that they've done a perfect job of that. Can you? Number 3 outside the box rebuild is the New York Jets. The New York Football Jets. The only reason they are here, they're actually an 84 overall in the game. They'll have $64.9 million to spend in the offseason with 17 players needing to be re-signed. It's really because of this. They don't have a quarterback situation that is attractive. With Aaron Rodgers about to presumably retire in at least 2 seasons, you need to find that next guy. Can Jordan Travis be it? Maybe. I would hope so. I like him. Breece Hall, of course, great running back. They did bring in Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis. Should be interesting to see what young running backs come up to go and be his running mate. They actually have a fullback. They did sign Mike Williams for a season, really cheap too. Garrett Wilson has a couple of years left before he needs a big extension. Malachi Corley should be interesting to see what they do with him. Xavier Gibson, they've got some young talent there. Tight end, they really don't have much, I'll tell you that. They got Tyron Smith at left tackle. That was a big get for them. They also drafted Olu Fashanu, which is huge, so tackle could be moving on up. John Simpson, not what I want at guard. Joe Tippmann, not really what I want at center right now. Elijah Vera-Tucker, can he stay healthy? Please. Morgan Moses got 1 year at right tackle. Jermaine Johnson looking good at left end. We know the Jets can play some defense. Hassan Reddick just requested a trade as I'm making this video. He wants to not be a Jet, interestingly enough. Quinnen Williams did get his big money, though, so he is the dude in the middle, of course. Sherwood, not great. That's not a good start there at left outside linebacker. Mosley's awesome in the middle. Quincy Williams is fine on the right side, but they need that left side. Sauce, of course, is awesome. Can you keep DJ Reed Jr.? Will you have the money to do that? Would you even want to if you had the money to do that? That's tough. They don't have a great free safety, and their strong safety leaves a little bit to be desired as well. Greg the Leg, solid kicker. Thomas Morstead, very good punter. So special teams is fine, but the Jets are one of those snake-bitten teams that seems to put together decent teams that just can't get over the hump. 1, can you? And 2, can you continuously put together this team so that they're constantly in contention? All right, people are really going to hate me now. Number 2 is the Bills. I know, Bills fans. All right, I get it. Your team's very good. All right, even me as a Dolphins fan can admit that your team is good. The problem is this. If I'm looking for an outside-the-box rebuild, I'm looking for a team that just has not gotten it done and needs your help to do so. Obviously, most teams that come up against the Chiefs haven't gotten it done, but right now, the Bills are in a vulnerable spot. The Bills are in a spot where they are only rated an 80 overall in this game. They have 2 X Factors and not a single superstar, and they've only got 12 players rated 80+. Josh Allen is, of course, one of them, and he's, of course, one of the best quarterbacks in all of football. James Cook is a solid running back. I wish the Bills ran him more in real life. They'd probably do a better job. Ray Davis could be a solid spellback for him. And I don't know why they did Frank Gore Jr. so dirty. This dude is way better than this. This is where they took a little bit of a downturn. I mean, Curtis Samuel and Marquez Valdez-Scantling is not Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs. It just isn't. And they're going to need some step-ups here. Maybe Keon Coleman can be the guy that steps up. Maybe Khalil Shakir takes the next step forward. But they need something. Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid, they're looking for one of them to turn amazing. But so far, they've been good tight ends. Deion Dawkins, bringing him in. 4 years, big money. Oof. Edwards, no. McGovern, he's all right, I guess. Osiris Torrance hasn't taken that step, and Spencer Brown and La'el Collins only got a year for both of them, so not a lot on the offensive front. Greg Rousseau, really good player. Von Miller, how long can he play, but really good player. Ed Oliver, really good player. Defensive line looking good, but left outside linebacker, no. Middle linebacker, not looking great. They do have Matt Milano, but again, he is now on the other side of 30. At corner, Teron Johnson. They are hoping he can fill those Trey White shoes, and Rasul Douglas comes in for a single season. So we'll see how that works with Benford and Kyer Elam behind. It just seems to me that those 2 rookies from a couple of years ago just haven't worked yet, so we'll see if they can eventually. Cole Bishop now, taking Cole Bishop now, trying to fill the shoes of Jordan Poyer, and Taylor Rapp. I mean, I don't know what you can say. This is just not the same Bills team that we have seen. That doesn't mean that they can't be good, and that doesn't mean you can't play well with them, but it is not the Bills team that we're used to. But can you get this team that once lost 4 straight Super Bowls and has recently been kicked out of the playoffs multiple times, can you actually get them to a Super Bowl and get them a championship? Bills Mafia deserves that much. And my number 1 outside-the-box rebuild, I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I almost put them on the straight-up list at number 1, but I'm going to put them outside the box. I mean, I do realize that this is a team that has had wonderful, wonderful success over the years, and, you know, Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season, so at worst, they have gone 500. And you see that $17.2 million in cap space. It will increase to $70.3 in the offseason, needing to sign 18 players. They got 2 X Factors, 1 superstar, and they have 13 players 80 or better. They're an 82 overall. They won 10-7 last year, but look at this. No quarterback signed. To me, that's attractive because I can draft my own quarterback if I want to. I can sign one of these guys for a season and draft my own quarterback and make my own story. Same thing really here at running back. I mean, Najee, 1 year. Jaylen Warren, 1 year. Cordero Patterson, pretty much cuttable. Or at least maybe that 1 year running back who backs up somebody you draft, or one of these guys if you re-sign them. There's a lot of your own decisions to be made. Same thing here. Pickens. His contract's coming up, Austin's contract's coming up, and they don't have anybody else signed outside of Roman Wilson out of Washington. Tight end Freiermuth, he's got 1 year left. Darnell Washington, will be the tight end if you don't bring him back. Left tackle, 1 year left. Samalo at left guard's fine. Frazier is the new drafted center. Right guard, 1 year for James Daniels. There's the new drafted Troy Fatanu at right tackle. He should be fine. Ogunjobi and Lowry both have 2 years apiece. Hayward is in his last year potentially. Keanu Benton, 3 years for him, drafted last year. TJ Watt, 2 years before he's looking for some more money. Patrick Queen just brought in on a new 3-year deal to play against his former team twice a year. Holcomb has 2 years, Alandon Roberts has 1, and then the drafted Peyton Wilson. So those linebackers could play all over the place. Alex Highsmith, of course, 4 years for him after his 5-year extension last year. Nick Herbig, he was drafted last year. Joey Porter Jr. is your main corner, and everybody else is only a 1-year guy outside of Corey Trice and Ryan Watts, the new rookie. Free safety, Minka's got 3 years left. He'll be 30 at that point. And Deshaun Elliott signed as a stopgap bridge player for 2 years to go with DeMonte Kazee. Kicker Boswell is just keeps getting money from Pittsburgh Brass, and he's going to get more money from Pittsburgh Brass. He's a solid kicker. And at punter, it is Cameron Johnston, who just got a 3-year extension as well. So Pittsburgh spent their money to keep some of their big stars, but Hayward potentially could be out or retired. Running back is a question, and of course the biggest question is quarterback, and that could be really, really fun to draft your own players if that's something that you like to do. That being said, these aren't the end-all, be-all teams. There are more teams that you can have fun with in Madden 25, so let me know what team you're going to rebuild in Madden 25. Who are you running your franchise with? Thank you all for the kind comments, and if you haven't checked out my top teams to rebuild in college football 25, make sure you check that out as well. Be on the lookout for some franchise mode content here as well. Thank you all. Have a good one.